Danny Parkins is somebody I heard years ago, and we're kind of introducing him to the audience again every time I bring him on, but I thought he was the best young radio host in the country. He was in Chicago. FS1 brought him over. I put him on the volume. Just an interesting, fascinating guy. And right now he's part of the Breakfast Ball, the new show here at this network. And, of course, he thought when he came to our network, the Bears would be 3-0. They'd be the talk of the NFL. And instead, they're just Will Levis judgment from being 0-3. So I did say this. I did find myself watching Jaden Daniels, who was not just good against a desperate Cincinnati team. It was literally like they haven't punted or had a turnover in multiple weeks. That never happened even with Brady. And it does feel a little, Danny, a little like last year with C.J. Stroud about 3 to 4 games in with Bryce Young, where you're like, yeah, this isn't close. The 2's way better than the 1. So that's the truth so far. Has that even entered? Have you even considered that for a moment, or is it going to get better for Caleb?
It already has gotten better for Caleb. I mean, in game 1, he didn't even throw for 100 yards. And then in game 2 on Sunday Night Football, it's 170-something yards, and he rushes for 44, and he makes more plays from the pocket, and they're down a score late in the fourth quarter against the Texans. And then last week, some of it was in garbage time, and some of it's a Hail Mary at the end of the first half, but it's 360 passing yards and a couple of scores. So it's 3 games. Washington fans have seen RG3 look amazing as a rookie and then not. Yeah. Mitch Trubisky had a 6-touchdown game. So let's just pump the brakes here. Caleb Williams is going to be fine. I have no buyer's remorse yet.
Well, that's all I'm asking. I'm not saying it's a lemon. I just said broke down in the freeway.
Don't like it. I don't like your tone. I don't like Carton's tone. I don't like Schlereth's tone on Breakfast Ball. They're all taking a little too much joy at the like. Oh, have you seen Justin Fields? He's undefeated. You wish he was still the Bears quarterback? No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm fine. It's gonna be fine.
But I will say this, because I was never a fan of Justin Fields, and you got a lot of crap for bailing on him much earlier than the rest of the Chicago media. I will say this. Structure matters. Pittsburgh's got better structure than Chicago. And the fact that he's completing 73% of his throws, you watch him play, he's seeing the field. Like, you're a little surprised how effective he's been just in the efficiency department, are you not?
This is a product of coaching, and Pittsburgh deserves a ton of credit. Arthur Smith deserves a ton of credit, and Justin Fields deserves a ton of credit. They have done in Pittsburgh in 1 year, through 3 games, what Luke Getsy and Matt Nagy were not able to do for Justin Fields in 3 years, which is he fumbled the ball way too much and he took way too many sacks. Yeah. His turnovers are down, his sack numbers are way down, and the efficiency is way up. So Justin Fields deserves credit, but let's not kid ourselves. Pittsburgh is undefeated because their defense is allowing 9 points per game.
Right.
They're 28th in passing yards. They're 24th in points. They're dead last in offensive touchdowns. So the offense is bottom 5, bottom 6 in the league at every metric you could possibly look at when it comes to scoring or passing the football. He's just not making big mistakes, which credit to him. He used to make big mistakes, and credit to Arthur Smith for putting him in that spot. But he's not the long-term answer in Pittsburgh based on what he's shown through 3 weeks.
So now that you're more national, like when you're in a local host, you're doing a lot of Bears, Cubs, no question. You'll delve into occasional national issues. But now you're at FS1. You understand the power of the Cowboys. Tom Brady now is essentially an employee of Fox and the Cowboys. Those are the games we put Tom on. And so I've never really heard a lot about Dallas, and my takeaway is I always say the same thing about Dallas every year. They'll be pretty good, and that's what they are virtually every year. But I don't think they're a Super Bowl team. I said I thought they'd have slight regression. They just don't have money. CD got paid, Dak got paid, Micah get paid. They're going to be up against the cap for years. What is your take? In baseball, it's nostalgia, but in tech and the NFL, we don't care about that. Win in January. How do you view the Cowboys when now from Chicago to us? How do you view it? How in your world? How do you look at them?
Well, they've won 12 games 3 years in a row and then done nothing in the postseason. And they led the league in scoring last year. So they were good and worthy of discussion. And then they also have this ability to generate stories out of nothing because their owner is their general manager who does post-game press conferences and has his own radio show. So he fuels this whole sports take industrial complex that we are a part of, where it's like, oh my God, it's Wednesday. It's the slowest day of the NFL week. But Jerry Jones spoke yesterday. So it's all by design. He loves the noise. He loves the chaos. It's not a coincidence that he announced the Dak Prescott contract extension 2 hours before kickoff of the opener. We're like, wow, it's a distraction. It's noise. That's the chaos that they thrive on. But on the field, to me, they're the bully at the playground. Like, I don't know what your grade school was or whatever, but for me, there was a grade school like 5th through 8th grade, and then you went off to high school. So the 8th grader is the bully against the 5th grader. But then next year, they're the kid that gets bullied when they're the 9th grader by the juniors and seniors. Dallas beats bad teams. They beat bad teams, but when they play good teams, when they play up in competition, they get bullied because the formula is really out on them, which is basically you run the ball at Dallas, and they're going to fold up shop. Yeah. And so that's what happened last week. They'll probably beat the Giants, and then when they play a good team again, they'll lose.
Okay, I'm going to give you a team that we think is good, probably has the best roster, and are struggling. San Francisco. Lay it out for me. I put them in my herd hierarchy, and I didn't put the Steelers in. I still buy them. What say you?
I did the exact same thing today on Breakfast Ball. Kyle Shanahan deserves the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise. And Debo will be back, and Trent Williams will be back, and Kittle will be back, and we'll see about McCaffrey. But McCaffrey goes out, and Mason produces. Everyone produces. Devontae Freeman produced in a Kyle Shanahan system at running back. Alfred Morris produced in a Kyle Shanahan system at running back. So if he can get Jimmy Garoppolo into a Super Bowl and he can get Brock Purdy into a Super Bowl, he can weather these injuries right now. I think they're the safest bet week in and week out to be good, and eventually they'll get healthy.
By the way, his family, his lovely family, is still in Chicago. Danny is in New York and around Times Square, and had a great line during the break. I said, what do you make of Times Square, Danny? And your interpretation was what? This was very funny.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I am a married man with kids who lives in suburbia, and now I'm living out of a hotel in Times Square. It's like, so instead of walking to a pharmacy or a grocery store, there's a Bubba Gump shrimp or the M&M store or like a naked cowboy trying to sell me a fake Rolex. Like, I'm living in like a dystopian world. And like, I'm on TV and not the radio. I'm not with my wife. I'm not with my kids. I don't know what the hell's going on in my life, Colin. It's all very, very strange.
Danny Parker.
Very strange.
Yes, it is. Yes, Times Square and life is. Good, Danny. Great seeing you as always, buddy.
Thank you, Colin.
All right. That was funny. And it smells like cannabis if it's New York. J-Mac, got to tell you, he did make the argument with Caleb. Baby steps, but he is more productive than week one. He does have a win. Bryce Young couldn't get those. And we are seeing growth. And I think I set him up for it, but I think that's fair with Caleb. He's more talented than Bryce. By the way, Bryce played behind a powerhouse high school and a powerhouse college. Caleb Williams was easily the most talented player in 7 years at the college he went to, USC, with bad O-line play. So, like, what we're seeing here is somebody that has played under duress and had to carry a team, which is what he'll have to do eventually in the NFL with Keenan Allen out and a hot seat coach. Bryce Young never lived that life. He was carried by the best high school coach in Southern Cal and the best college coach and the best defense.
It just feels like the media is always so starved for who the next star is, and they see Caleb doing some backyard football, Patrick Mahomes type stuff, and everybody just said he's the next guy. He's just a superstar. Like, these things take time. Can we give him more than 3 games before we say, he's on the Bryce Young track? Like, come on.
Hey, we got a show today.
Let's give him like 3 seasons.
Now, nobody's given 3 seasons.
What about Trevor Lawrence?
We gave you 4 shows. You're lucky you hit the final one. So all of it, I think people in Washington, D.C. certainly did. But it was interesting. It was on the road. That's always tougher. It was Joe Burrow in a make or break for the season game for Cincinnati. It was national TV. By the end of the game, it was a standalone game. as an underdog, and the kid goes 21-23, 142 passer rating, 3 total touchdowns. He honestly looked brilliant. Back-to-back games, Washington's offense, no punts and no turnovers. Anybody else watch that game and kind of think to themselves, do we got a C.J. Stroud thing going on where the number 2 quarterback pick is way back?